Hey everyone. There's a lot to talk about. This is the last episode of the show, and I am in immense pain. Like really, I'm having a great time right now. I'm so happy. Everything about it was absolutely fantastic, but I am just in such emotional distress from watching this and thinking about it, and I absolutely loved it. So, first off, I just want to thank everyone who worked on the show, the crew, all the people who made fan art, the community, literally everyone, because my experience with this show and with the community has been absolutely amazing, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You all made this show one of my favorites ever, so thank you. But let's talk about what actually happens in this episode and get into what makes it so amazing. So, as you might be able to tell, this is already a bit different from the usual Amphibia videos I do. I'm just really processing that this is over. So I'm just going to talk about the moments that really affected me. I'll try to go in order, but just know there's just so much about this episode that is stellar. So keep that in mind. So the Calamity Power scene, that was actually fantastic. I loved every little second of it. I had this theory for such a long time that Marcy would be psychic and Sasha would have sword powers, but this feels so infinitely better than anything I was thinking. I feel like I was thinking way small term when it comes to this sort of stuff, because them having powers that is literally just the stuff that they like and they're interested in feels so much better than some generic sort of power system based off of what they're good at. They are using what they're good at, but in a way that feels much more distinct and unique to them. So I absolutely loved that, and I just really wanted to bring that up. Besides, obviously, the animation being absolutely fantastic with a bunch of really great action outside of, a great plot. The forms looked absolutely amazing as well. I loved how Sasha got her ponytail back, but it was more of like this sort of fire effect going on with it. Looked awesome. I loved that Marcy had a really green outfit all over, as well as Sasha having an all red outfit. I thought it was really great. And I really liked how Anne's armor also got a different look. I just really liked these kind of enhanced forms overall. Really cool. Now, I'm probably going to talk about this all at once because there's just so much here. But Andreas was absolutely amazing this episode. I loved him finally rebelling against the Corps and his father. Him crushing the crown was immensely satisfying. And the fact he said something I should have done a long time ago, standing up to you, to fully complete the parallel between him and Anne. Amazing. I absolutely loved that. But something I also really loved was the way he would interact with Marcy when she left to go back home. He was so shocked that she even said goodbye to him, that she showed that she actually did care about Andreas. He was so just shocked by it that he said, "Take care." It was so depressing, but I thoroughly loved it. And seeing him after the time skip, I know I'm jumping all over the episode, but I just really want to get everything about Andreas in one because so much is there. The fact that he's still alive, he's still working to make sure that this world is a better place than the way he, turned it into, and the fact that he's using Barrel's Warhammer and he has Marcy's charm and Leaf's charm. He showed that he's finally ready to open himself up to others and actually, be someone he wants to be. And overall, I just thoroughly loved the ending of his character, how he continued to be present in the story and wasn't just killed off like the Corps. If there was a, spin-off or sequel or anything like that, I would love to see what he's up to, how he's doing. Like, very much so. So Anne, Sasha, and Marcy, they're trying to stop the Corps, from falling and destroying everyone. And Sasha and Marcy give up their powers to Anne. Anne goes into this really crazy all-white form. And then Anne dies. So that was pretty insane. It was amazing. Don't get me wrong. I really, really, really enjoyed the direction that they made with this idea. But I cannot even imagine me being like a little kid watching this. I would probably be like, oh my God, Anne just died. It was really, really, really crazy. And it was said early in the episode that this sort of power comes at a price, and clearly it did. So, insane stuff. But luckily, there was a copy of Anne that was made by the Stones, which has this sort of god sort of entity controlling them and surrounding them. So Anne is technically still alive, air quotes around alive, obviously, but as a clone of the original Anne. She's offered the sort of job that the Three Stones deity had, but Anne rejects it. And there's this really great moment that I love, how Anne talks about how her time in Amphibia has made her realize that people change, people grow, and they could become better. So she thinks, even though she is the only person who's used the stones for good, that she'll mess up because she's still very young and has a lot to learn. And I really, really enjoyed this scene because it shows how literally smart Anne is. I know that a lot of people, they're kids, but she's so genuinely intelligent and knows about the world around her. It's really, really showing a great sign of maturity, which I really, really enjoyed. And because of this, the deity realizes, oh, she can be better. So instead of just ending her life right there, is allowed to go back to the real world and be with her friends and everyone in Amphibia. I thought that was a really great way of having her still be alive, yet still have that sort of sense of consequences in, literally dying to save everyone. I really enjoyed it. Now, here's where things start to get really just painful and horrible, because they get the stones back, but they're a limited, basically one-time use thing. So they're never going to see each other again. The episode's called The Hardest Thing. I assumed it would be about letting go, moving on, and kind of moving on through life. And seeing that is exactly what happened filled me with dread, not gonna lie, because seeing some of these interactions, like Sasha and Grime and Anne and the Planters, so painful. I already mentioned Marcy and Andrews, so I'm not really gonna go into that, but oh my God, Sasha and Grime killed me. It was so sad because these two have grown to care about each other so much. They've been through so much together. That was so painful. But obviously, I think the one that was the most impactful was Anne and Sprig, because scene at the end where he hugs her one last time, that was a tearjerker. It was a tearjerker, not gonna lie. And after that, the music box is actually destroyed. There's no way they could ever talk to each other again, ever. And I thought that was a really, really crazy decision, not gonna lie. But when it comes to the theme of the story of growing, moving on, and continuing to remember all the things that you've gone through in your life, treasuring the moments you had together, I think it was perfect, especially because of the statue that they build of Anne. I really, really love that moment so much. And then we get to see that Sprig is going to become an adventurer just like Anne and try and see the world, something he's never seen before, just like she did. And I absolutely love that, so much. And after we see everyone in Amphibia, we get to see what Anne, Sasha, and Marcy are up to. And there's a lot I really love about the scene, so I might ramble a little bit, but there's just so much here that is just amazing. So we see that Sasha and Marcy are actually going to celebrate Anne's birthday. And Sasha talks about how their life was in high school. And even though it seems like they haven't, caught up in a while, they just still hit it off like they're friends. And I just really, really appreciate that because it feels very real. She talks about how even though Anne and her sort of fell into different friend groups. They're still friends, but that's just real. I feel like that's how, at least for me, how I am with a lot of people. And it was really nice to see that it was just very real with the way that life, it genuinely just is. Like, there's no sort of magical reason that Marcy had to, oh, I'm actually staying here. My family moved back. Like, there's none of that. It's just real. Like, it's just real. So we get to see where Anne works. And Anne works at an aquarium teaching little kids about frogs. And the entire sort of area where she works, she themed all around amphibia. And it's so precious. I love it so much. And she even brings out this little pink frog named Sprig and says, oh, I named him Sprig after a dear friend of mine. And I just love that so much. It goes to show that even though these people can't really interact ever again, it's the memories that they have with one another that makes it feel so meaningful. And the same goes with Anne, Sasha, and Marcy. Like I said, even though they weren't really close in high school, Anne and Sasha are still friends. And again, like, it's just very real, and I really appreciated that. In the ending speech of the whole series, Anne talks about how the hardest thing is letting someone go. But sometimes you might have to move on with your life and continue being the person you want to be. And it might suck, but again, it's the memories you have with these people that shape you, and they never really leave you in that sense. As Anne puts Sprig back behind a glass case, she sees Sasha and Marcy in the reflection. And then she talks about how, even though you might let some people go, it's nice to see what comes back to you. And that was even more powerful, because it talked about how not only is she on her own journey, on her own ever-changing life, but all the people she cares about are as well. And it felt, again, very real. I just truly appreciate this ending because of how true to life it feels, at least for me. How even though a bunch of people are doing their own thing, they seem to come back around if you put the effort in, and it's something I really appreciate. There's so much about this ending that rings true throughout the entire series. It's about accepting yourself. It's about bettering yourself. It's about being true to who you are. It's about friendship. It's about growth. I love it. I really, really love this ending, especially because of how real it feels. I know I've said this ending feels real at least 5 times, but I can't say it enough. I appreciate it because of how genuine it feels. And I guess the hardest thing for me right now is to accept that this show is over, because I love this show. I really, really do. I don't know what I expected when I first started watching it, because it was a lot of very comedic frog antics, but it's really grown into a story that I've absolutely grown to appreciate and really, really admire for what it's standing for. So I'd love to know your thoughts as well. What do you think about the show overall? What did it speak to you? And if you did somehow work on the show and you've seen this video, thank you. I don't really know what else I can say. Your work has truly touched me, and I greatly appreciate it. It's going to be pretty hard, knowing that there's no more Amphibia content, but I guess, that's life, I'll remember the show for years and years and years, and I'll love talking about it, and I'll push the show until I can't no more. So, thanks for watching. Take care, and have a good one.